Let's take there is an impart and also 12C to 19C database. I'm testing you. Welcome back, guys. So today we'll be understanding about Oracle 19C new features. You all should know about these features, and of course Oracle is evolving over the years, and Oracle 19C is the next long-term supported release. Let us start with the first feature of Oracle 19C, test mode for transportable table spaces. Now guys, whenever you perform data bump export, what happens? When the export is happening, it might fail later on, and it becomes a challenge for you to go ahead and fix the issue and then perform the export again. This is a problem with data pump. And how can you fix it? There was no option to fix this problem until you encountered the error while performing the export, right? With 19C, there is a test mode option where you can run the data pump in test mode. That means it won't perform the actual export into the dump file. It will only run through the entire exercise. It will create a dump file, but you cannot use that dump file for any import. It's only a test mode. The beauty is, in this test mode, you can see whether you might encounter an error in the actual export or not. That's a new feature with 19C. Let us look at the next feature that we have in 19C is max data pump parallel per job. As you know, data pump uses worker process to perform the export or the import. This parameter allows you to add more number of worker processes so that you can perform the export or import faster. Max data pump parallel per job. That's the parameter, allows you to add, increase or decrease the worker processes to speed up your export or import. The next feature that we have in 19C is Oracle Network Log File Segmentation. Guys, in the previous versions of Oracle, you had only one log file for the listener and it was hard to manage. With 19C, it allows you to define the maximum number of log files that you can have for your listener, and also what is the max size for each log file. For example, in one of our configurations, we have set the max log files that are to be generated set to 8, and also we set the size of each log file cannot exceed 1 MB. So when the listener generates the first log file, it will be of 1 MB. Next, it will generate the second log file, then the third log file, and so on. When it reaches the maximum log file size, that is 8, what happens? The first generated log file will be deleted and the 9th log file will be created, and that's how it moves on. It means at any given point of time, you will have 8 log files in the system for the listener. That's the new setting we have. Let us look at the next 19C parameter that we have, automatic indexing. Guess what, guys? 19C completely automates the index management on a table. It will create an index for you, it will rebuild the index for you, and also it will drop an index for you if you want. It is also known as auto indexing. It happens based on the application workload. Depending on how much workload is coming to the database, Oracle auto indexing will define whether to create an index, whether to rebuild an index, or to drop an index if it is of no use. This new feature I would want all of you to explore when you are working with 19C. Trust me, one of my favorite features. Let us look at the next feature that we have, real-time statistics. Assume this, guys. If you have a gathering stats job that is running, and then there is a query running after some time, there is still gap and a lot of things can happen in those gaps. So the stats that we have might become stale at the time you're running your query because you still have a gap, right? What if when you run a query and Oracle gathers the real-time stats? That's what 19C allows you to do. When you run a query, it can gather the real-time stats right now as it is inside the database so that it can generate better plans. With real-time statistics, it will ignore the stats gathered by the DBMS statistics gather stats package. Whatever stats are gathered, it will be ignored, and Oracle will have the real-time stats right when you are executing the query. Let's move on to the next 19C feature that we have. Active Data Guard DML Redirection. Now you can run the DML commands on an Active Data Guard, and the Active Data Guard will redirect those DMLs to the primary database. This happens by configuring the Active Data Guard DML redirection. Let's take you have an application that is connected to the standby, that is Active Data Guard, and in the Active Data Guard occasionally there are some DML commands that the application runs. So rather than you having the application forced to connect to the primary where it can run the DML commands and then those DMLs are replicated to the Active Data Guard, now 19C allows some of the DML commands that you can run on the Active Data Guard, and the DML commands will flow in the reverse direction towards the primary, and changes will be made permanent only when it is committed. This is very important. The data flow will be there from Active Data Guard to the primary, but it will be made permanent only if the user commits those DMLs, else no. It will wait until the commands are committed. Let's move on to the next feature that we have. Flashback standby when primary is flashed back. Guys, in the previous releases, let's take you had to flash back the primary database, right? Back in time. What happens is as you move the primary database back in time, the standby becomes out of sync. You had to manually go and work on the standby, bring it in sync with the primary database. With 19C, the beauty is if you flash back your primary database, your standby will be automatically flashed back. It actually simplifies your life as a DBA. Let's look at the next feature that we have. Propagate restore point from primary to standby. Normally guys, if you have a restore point on your primary database, what happens? Let's say you perform the switchover. The restore point information is lost on the standby database because on primary, the restore point information was there on the primary control file. This restore point information is never carried onto the standby. This is about the earlier releases. With 19C, if you create a restore point on primary, the same restore point is propagated onto the standby. The beauty, let's take if you perform the switchover, you still have the restore point on your new primary, right? You can use it. That's the benefit in 19C. You can propagate restore point that you create on primary automatically onto the standby, so that unlike previous releases, you do not lose those restore points on the standby. On standby, when it becomes primary or when you perform a switchover or failover, you still have all the restore points exactly like your primary server. Let's look at the next feature that 19C offers. Auto upgrade for Oracle database. So guys, if you know when it comes to database upgrade, there are three main phases: pre-upgrade phase, the exact upgrade phase, and then you have post-upgrade phase. All three phases are to be taken care by a DBA one after the another in order to perform the database upgrade. With automatic database upgrade, the best part is all these three phases are taken care by the auto upgrade utility completely end to end, and you just need to fire one single command. Assume how simple your life will become if you fire only one upgrade command, which takes care of pre-upgrade part, the main upgrading of the database, and also the post-upgrade tasks, all taken care by the auto upgrade utility. And also, let's take there is any requirement of making changes to the initialization parameters, the auto upgrade utility will take care of this thing as well. That's the beauty about auto upgrade utility. Let me tell you one thing guys, you can use this auto upgrade utility to also perform the upgrade from 12C to 19C database. So guys, those are my 9 favorite features about Oracle 19C, and let's meet in our next video.